All right, y'all, welcome back. This will be part two of the India series. We covered most of the basics in the intro. I tried to hit it pretty hard, so these next two will be a little shorter. In chapter two, Hindu nationalism and bovine political economy, we'll skip to section four, cow protection through law. Um, and so it was an interesting sort of discussion of bovine politics, bovine religion, uh, cultural views about sort of different strands of cow versus buffalo, etc. Really interesting. And so I did just want to point out there's not really a national law, sort of supranational law that covers all the regions. There are a lot of patchwork laws on bovine protections in India. Uh, at more of the sort of state and locality level. Okay, section five is about extra legal cow protectionism and vigilantism. I liked a lot of the research in this section. It was very like on the ground, very up to date. A lot of not only like first hand accounts, but really on the ground journalism and research. So it was pretty interesting seeing how they'd written this. Um, because I come from a statistics based program, right? And this was a lot more sort of research driven instead of data driven, I guess I would say. Um, all right, the vigilante groups across India are known as Garakshas. I'm probably saying that wrong. Um, these groups can be problematic, right? They're basically like little roving, I don't know if you would call them paramilitary bands, right? I don't think they really go that far in their organization or their state sponsorship. But they sort of fit, I guess, that general viewpoint, right? This violent organized group that's sort of going outside the law often, right? Vigilantism, harassing and beating people up. A lot of these are very sort of young, I guess, ideologues or whatever you might call it. So yeah, it's an interesting problem that's rising according to reporting, um, and often they are, I wouldn't say sponsored by the state, but like we talked about in section one, a blind eye is turned toward them, right? Um, which is kind of a concerning thing, right? When you're talking about statehood, at least, and rule of law, so that one political group might get leeway for political violence over the other, and then you know how far does it go, and then what happens when the other group takes the lead? I mean, these are concerning ideas, right? The state often allows, yeah, this to happen, right? Especially at the local level with local police. A lot of times there's like familial relationships or just sort of unspoken agreements between the police and these groups. Okay, section six, the bovine economy. And here I just wanted to point out that sort of despite supporting the violent vigilantes um, against the meat market, right, especially in beef, Modi's government has become one of the biggest sort of world producers of beef, as we talked about in the first chapter. So, especially buffalo, which are sort of seen as a lesser, I guess, cow in India, but also a lot of cows, a lot of aged cows, right? And so, yeah, we generally know that most of I guess most of the use of cows in India is for dairy, right? Dairy is rising in India. They're not, many practice vegetarianism. It's not a complete cultural phenomenon where no one eats meat, right? They do tend to eat a lot less meat than sort of comparable economies like theirs, right? Comparable development, whatever. They tend to eat less meat, right? But there are plenty of meat eaters or carnivore, whatever you want to call it, not carnivore, omnivore. in India. And so mostly this is used, the cattle are used for, maybe like daily farming to help you sort of plow your field or move things around or, whatever it might be. But then also a lot of milk production. And so um, bulls tend to be sold off more often because you can't get milk out of them. And then milking cows, once they sort of reach their peak and are getting elderly, they're often sold to the market, um, to the meat market and the leather market, basically, so that the farmer can buy a new cow, etc. And that had been basically the large scale context of the agriculture or of the ranching in beef market in India. And like we mentioned in section one, there's only about two cows per owner, uh, per rancher, or whatever you might want to call it. And cows are expensive to to uh, to keep alive, right? It's a lot of grazing, it's a lot of food, it's a lot of you need vaccinations and make sure they don't get worms and these sorts of things. And so it's not cheap. And so I guess the major thing that the author here is pointing out is that the changes in the rhetoric, first of all, making meat markets turn a little more violent, right? But then also the economic aspect, the political economy aspect of allowing large holders to take these cows. And as they sort of point out in chapter three, what's happening is that a lot of these farmers who cannot sell their cows now and can no longer afford to keep them because it's expensive, um, just let them go free, right? And there's millions of cattle sort of roaming India at this point, and they're causing traffic problems. They're causing societal problems. They're causing accidents. They're grazing on people's crops. So, um, and then these sort of religious organizations. I don't want to talk down on them or whatever, but they will collect these cows. They will aggregate them. They will take support from the government of India under Modi's administration, and sort of become large ranchers, right? And sell them to the very few meat market exporters that exist now. And so it's an interesting tale they're telling of how these these policies and sort of the fear that's rising around them, and the real daily economic consequences affect the overall economy, right? Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it for this chapter. Thanks so much for being here. I'll get the final one up in just a second. Have a great day.